Hello everybody, this is Dare Tubbers. Welcome to a unique video. We are here in American Truck Simulator. We are driving Astoria to Ontario. So we're going straight across the northern part of Oregon. Currently we're coming across a bridge in Portland. Now, why are we doing this and why am I talking here and why? Well, the title should tell you everything you need to know. ATS versus real life. Now, I have driven this exact route. Well, okay, not this exact route. Close enough. So while the ATS we're going from Astoria to Ontario in real life, which will come on screen as we get closer to the intersection with the interstate, I was driving Castle Rock, Washington to Pendleton, Oregon. So what we're going to watch is the difference between ATS and real life between basically Portland, the Portland interchange where you get onto 84 East, and Pendleton, Oregon. Now, you're not going to hear the beautiful dulcet tones of my Ford 6-liter diesel because the entire time me and Doss were listening to music CDs, and I just have so many copyright claims you wouldn't know what to do with yourself, or I wouldn't know what to do with myself anyway. So we are rolling in our Ford F350. I will pop up a little shot here of my truck sitting, I don't know where this is. I think this might be in Ellensburg. Anyway, my Ford F350, a 6-liter diesel, pulling a 30-foot fifth wheel converted to a gooseneck. So I am rolling a puny, small baby, 25,000 pounds fully loaded. I don't know what that is in Continental numbers. I'll find out in a moment and pop it on screen for you. But I'm rolling 25,000 pounds, so that's not a heck of a lot. In ATS, I think I'm rolling 70,000 pounds, give or take. Now, the first thing you'll notice as we go through the Dalles, really, I'm having to run the truck, the real-life truck, at 6 times speed. Yes, that's 6 times real life speed. And I'm running the ATS at just straight 1 time speed. I actually could probably slow it down and would help a little bit. But one of the things that you'll notice is the plethora of greenery is just overwhelming. And then you'll notice on the left with the real life truck, the Columbia River just kind of peeks out every now and then. Just little glances at the big, mighty Columbia River. Now, the Columbia will be our left-hand maiden, I guess, our left-hand passenger the entire way, because the interstate does run right along, mostly right along the river. Now, this is from Castle Rock to Pendleton is a 6-hour drive when you go precisely the speed limit because you're towing weight. In ATS, I believe it's blocked at about the same length if you were to do the Portland to Pendleton bit. It's blocked at the same length, but just the difference in speed you need to get the vehicles to arrive at about the same point in time, which is Pendleton's exit. The other thing that I kind of miss in ATS is the feeling of the right-hand side is a steep mountain that just goes just about straight down into the Columbia River. I mean, it is a gorge. There's a reason it's called the Gorge. It is a gorge carved by the mighty Columbia River. And I don't get that feeling as much in ATS as I do in real life. Well, obviously, because real life is real life. But I don't get that same feeling all the way. There are a few points along here that it actually feels like things are inverted. So there's a few points where it feels like the train tracks are on the wrong side. And I tried my best to line things up, and I've lined things up basically by exit numbers. So I am making sure that the real life truck and the ATS truck arrive at the exit numbers that are in ATS at about the same time, give or take a little bit. That is kind of difficult. I was originally going to do this Astoria to Pendleton, because I did drive Astoria to Castle Rock with my truck. However, Astoria to Portland in game is like you take a turn and you're in Portland. Astoria to Portland in real life is an absolutely gorgeous 2-lane twisting drive through heavily forested land with the Columbia River peeking out every once in a while. It's gorgeous if you've never taken that drive. If you're from Europe, if you're from the UK and you want a beautiful drive, there are a few, and many of them are on the West Coast, in my opinion. People in the East Coast will argue that the Blue Ridge Parkway is beautiful. Sorry guys, it's not. I've driven it. It's not. There are some gorgeous drives, and I think Astoria to Portland, Astoria to the Dalles maybe, is a pretty darn beautiful drive. Now you note at this point that there is no ATS. Yes, we're having to drive an extended period of time without ATS because I lined up those exit numbers. You would have noticed in ATS that we were coming over to the less lush side, the east side of Washington, Oregon, which is actually high desert. It's beautiful high desert. In my mind, it happens too quickly, way too quickly. It's a long drive in treed environments before we start really hitting that high desert. The quick amongst you will notice that there's little jumps in the truck video, the real life truck video. Those little jumps are because the dash cam I run, it takes a chunk of time and it saves it to the SD card, but it does an interesting thing where it actually overlaps slightly by, I think it's 7 or 8 frames. It's not a lot. It's enough for you to see a jump in the video, but it's not enough for me to try to line it up. And it's done like that because if you have a wreck, you at least have documentation. And that's why I run this dash cam. Without trailer, truck is just a shave under 10,000 pounds. And if some, I was going to call them four-wheeler, but technically my truck only has four-wheelers. But if some little car were to cut me off and hit their brakes, I want evidence that they were the idiot. And when I turned their sedan into a subcompact hatchback, that it wasn't my fault. I had one person to comment on my Patreon post about this video asking what is a fifth wheel, and I did a little bit of looking, and sure enough, the concept of the fifth wheel doesn't seem to be big in Europe and the UK. Out here, it's a pretty big thing. In fact, where I am in Colorado and sort of the West, well, sort of the West, the Mountain West, it's an even bigger thing because we have high winds. And if you're hauling a bumper pole and you get some of these high winds, you're going to start getting the tail wagging the dog. In fact, I'd have to see if I still have it. But there's actually video of me passing a poor guy pulling a bumper pole in high winds in Wyoming. And the tail was wagging the dog a little bit there. The nice thing about the fifth wheel is because it's sitting right over my rear axle, just like a semi. When the wind hits, it's trying to push the entire rear axle. It's not a big lever at the end of my truck. So I don't feel the wind nearly as much. I do feel it in Wyoming when, a breezy day is 40-mile-an-hour gusts. But that's just Wyoming. Nobody lives there but cows. That's not true. There are people, but mainly it's cows. I believe the cow population of Wyoming is much greater than the people population of Wyoming. Hey, we made it to the Dalles, everybody. Look at the difference. We're at exit 82. I offset exit 82 just slightly on the real life, but we're crossing under that bridge. The bridge is actually accurate, but that's about it. You notice we had quite a bit of time before we made it to the Dalles, where we had to run with just a real-life truck. The Dalles is one of the bigger towns along 84, 85. Oh, frig, I can't remember. 84. Whatever. It's one of the bigger towns. When I used to live in Eastern Washington, it would be the place that we'd go to see if we could buy something before we went to Portland. Because, to be honest, you didn't want to go to Portland. And you still don't. I'm just saying. Interestingly, near the Dalles is the Bonneville Dam. And there's a big reservoir back behind the Bonneville Dam. Welcome to Dare Tebbers Knows More About Geology Than You Probably Thought. There's a narrowing of the Columbia River. Well, you can't see it anymore because the reservoir of the Bonneville Dam has kind of made it go away. But back in the day, before the dam, there was a narrowing in a very a big area of rapids there in what is now the reservoir of the Bonneville Dam. And what that was way back in the day, way back before recorded history, before settlers made their way out west, before Lewis and Clark, before, well, it's hard to tell the exact year from what I've read, but it's likely before Columbus sailed the ocean blue. There was a land bridge that actually crossed the Columbia River. You could walk the land bridge, and the Columbia River went through basically a flume. Went through a flume. It went underground as it passed through these rapids, through a tunnel, a dark tunnel. What's really interesting is you can read Native American legends and mythology talks about how it was the entrance to the underworld. People went in, they never came out, which made sense because it was probably very rapid, heavily rapided. Is that a word? There were probably a lot of rapids. There we go. And it was dark and you couldn't see where you were going. And so your canoe would hit a rapid and then you were, pulled under and killed. Well, there's a myth that the tribes on the south and tribes on the north kept fighting each other. And so one day, the great Thunderbird said, "That's enough. I'm sick of y'all fighting." So stomped its feet or something. I don't remember the exact way it destroyed the bridge, but basically it had a temper tantrum and it shook the earth and the bridge collapsed. Now, interestingly, geology has since shown that a land bridge probably did actually exist. Well, not probably, it did exist. And one of the massive earthquakes, likely caused by the slip fault off of the west coast where the Juan de Fuca plate goes underneath the North American plate, one of its massive superquakes probably is exactly what caused the collapse of that land bridge. There you go. Geology. I got more. I got lots more. When 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 SCS releases Washington, and once I get Washington, the Washington DLC, and drive it to see just what exactly they've got, we'll probably do more of this because I did a good bit of driving through Washington. Just barely touched Oregon. And then we'll see what we got. I did not go into Seattle. I do not go into Seattle if I can help it. Especially not with a truck that's without trailer, just a shave under 24 feet long. I don't fit in parking spots. I mean, seriously. And being a 4x4, I don't fit in most parking garages because I'm too tall. So there you go. We've made it over the divide. We're over the Continental Divide now. Well, not the Continental Divide, but the Rain Divide. So all of that beautiful, lush Pacific moisture has been dropped as it's crossed over the mountains, over the Cascades, which are lined up, in case you didn't know, 1 for 1 with the Juan de Fuca plate. You can trace the Juan de Fuca plate by tracing the Cascades. So we've crossed over that rain divide. We are now on the east side. We are now in the high desert. Anybody who wants to know, this is the kind of land I grew up in, the high desert communities of Washington and Oregon. Beautiful land, in my opinion. Rough land teaches you, it really teaches you that life is precious because you get out in the high desert and it is as unforgiving as you can imagine. Columbia River on the left is massive, and that is a backup from the dams. That is a reservoir. Columbia River itself was, until the building of the dams, an extremely wild river. Massive floods. When we have the Washington DLC, we can hopefully, I'm hoping that we can drive I-95, Spokane to, I'm hoping Ellensburg exists in the DLC, maybe Yakima. And we can talk about some of the massive floods that were caused by the Columbia up there before the Grand Coulee Dam. Now, when you're driving this area, this is actually, now there's a reason I took this route. Let's talk about the reason I'm even on 84. Because I came over the pass from Ellensburg to, Seattle, but I ducked out of Seattle. I avoided Seattle, but I went over the pass there. I blew an EGR valve on the truck going over that pass. So I've got a brand new EGR valve from a shop I don't know anything about. So I'm taking it easy by taking the gorge because I don't have to do any big mountain climbs like I would if I had to go back over the North Cascades. So we're taking the 84 as actually a deviation from what my original route was planned to be because I'm trying to take it easy on the truck until I can put about 1,000 miles on the new EGR valve before I really want to push some mountain passes. In the end, I think I avoided all the mountain passes on my way back to Denver. The big ones anyway. I took some small ones where I didn't have to really haul it until I got into Wyoming. So I had probably 1,200 miles on the EGR valve, and I felt pretty confident in it at that point. Wind farms, huge thing out here. Love the wind farms out in this area. A lot of wind, especially the Gorge. Gorge can be extremely dangerous. There are videos, I'm sure they're on YouTube. I'm sure you can find them. People driving along the Gorge. I know there was one on TV way back when. This Jeep Wrangler hauling a little teardrop trailer. Wind came up. Wind took the teardrop trailer and flipped it, and the Jeep got dragged along with it. Like, the Gorge is massive amounts of wind. So Wind farms are a big thing out there, along with the hydro. Some of the cleanest power in the United States. There's also a nuclear plant somewhere up in this area. Well, not in this area, but west. So we're now firmly and completely in the high desert. We are and you will notice there haven't been that many exits. So this is something about Oregon. When you get into Eastern Oregon, ATS is actually pretty accurate with its map. There is not a lot out here. I mean, there's Umatilla. You don't go to Umatilla. I mean, you go to Umatilla to go to the watch them burn off, cook off all of our poison gas munitions and stuff, I guess. That was mean. Umatilla is not a bad town, but that is Umatilla's claim to fame. That is where they are cooking off our VX gas and all that other stuff. They're destroying all of our chemical weapons and biological weapons up in the Umatilla area. What else is out here? There isn't much. There really isn't. I'm actually thinking about it. I'm like, no, there really isn't. There's a lot of really small towns. Milton, Freewater. These are real whistle-stop towns. Like, I can't fully explain it. These are the kind of towns that they used to be something. They still exist. The population is very small, but I love them. I love these little towns. People are a lot friendlier, honestly. Living in the Front Range of Colorado, people ain't exactly friendly out here. I'm just saying. Everyone is all, oh, I've got to rush. I hate rushing. You see me passing vehicles, I'm not rushing. I'm literally cruise control is set probably 3 miles an hour. I always drive slightly under the speed limit with this truck. At least when I'm hauling the trailer. And I'm passing vehicles, but that's just because they're going slower than me and I'm going slightly under the speed limit. So fine, I pass them. I also drive a little bit careful because I've had a tire blowout on the trailer once, and that was enough for me. I don't want it ever again, especially at high speeds, because that just destroys pieces of that trailer. I really wish, and I'll see if I can find, I'll comb the video again, and if I can find the purr of the 6-liter, I'll try to dub it on. I might just go out and drive the truck a little bit and turn off the radio and everything just to get the engine note. No, I won't. I actually won't do that. You won't get the right engine note because when it's not hauling the trailer, you can't get the sense of the engine note that truck has. I run it in tow haul mode when I'm hauling for reasons of the mode is called tow haul mode. It actually changes the engine and the shift patterns for the truck. And I actually have an engine brake when I'm running tow haul mode. And the engine brake is absolutely pants if you don't actually have something on the truck and you're running tow haul mode. But it's a pretty aggressive engine brake for a truck like this. It might be modified. I'm just saying. It's not really an engine brake in the world of a semi, which is a Jake brake. I don't have something like that. Instead, it changes the timing of the transmission, and mine makes a small adjustment to how the turbo handles things. So it's nice. I can actually hold speed going down pretty steep hills when I have the trailer without ever having touched a brake, which is exactly what you want to do because you don't want to burn your brakes out going down a hill, because then you end up like a semi in Denver that killed a bunch of people because he didn't know how to drive his semi in the mountains. Don't touch your brakes. Don't ride your brakes. I'm just saying, people, if you don't know how to drive the mountains, please don't. Or if you do, drive it in a car. Because if your brakes burn out in a car and you crash, you're dead and everyone else is fine usually. Notice I said usually, but I'm not advocating you to drive the mountains if you don't know how. And we should be coming up. There we go. On the exit 179 for misspelled Kennewick and ATS. Thanks, guys. That is not how you spell Kennewick. I should know. I went to school there. So we're coming up towards Pendleton. In ATS, there's a really tall building as you approach Pendleton. I don't think I'm going to look at it in game. I don't remember whether I do or not. But that is actually a casino. There is a Indian casino just east of Pendleton. I think it's a Wild Horse, I want to say. I'm going to make the suggestion, anybody who's driving a truck and trailer through Pendleton and you want to stop in Pendleton, don't go to the KOA. It's crap. Go to the casino. It's better. We went to the KOA and we regretted it. I mean, that's how I know don't go to the KOA, because nobody told us. I've told you. I feel like I've done my due diligence now. They put that building in the wrong place, by the way. I think I am looking at it in game, but they put it in the wrong place. It actually belongs on East Pendleton, but as we were approaching Pendleton, we started to get cloud build. There was supposed to be a lot of rain that afternoon, which is unusual for the desert, the high desert, but when it happens, it's beautiful. The escarp, or the height buildup on some of these rocks as we approach Pendleton and ATS just feels a little forced. It's a little too green for me. Pendleton is green-ish, but it's a little too green for me. Real life, look at that. That's a lot of brown. This is summer, by the way, people. I'm driving this in summer. This is the Pendleton area. So we're pulling into the KOA here. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, like it, comment, and maybe we'll do another one. Till next time, have a great day, everyone. I've been Dare Tebbers. Bye.